There is a huge controversy in the wargame community this month as hundreds of thousands of wargamers are now up in arms. Influencers and YouTubers are furious, the entire community is outraged, refunds are being demanded, and a beloved darling, a fan favorite IP, is being turned on. It looks like Games Workshop have once again... Sorry, it's what now? It's... Oh, alright. No, it's not Games Workshop this time. This time, it's Trench Crusade. Yeah, Trench Crusade, a Warhammer 40k competitor, the Warhammer 40k competitor, one that has quickly become one of the biggest war games around. In fact, it was one of the biggest, if not the biggest game of 2025, and it had a huge amount of crowdfunding money pumped into it via Kickstarter. It gathered a huge community and millions of dollars raised on Kickstarter itself. And 2026, the year ahead, looked pretty rosy for the game too, because this crowdfunding success generated a lot of cash, which Factory Fortress, the owners of Trench Crusade, have now pumped into making a hard plastic miniatures line in partnership with Archon Studios, eschewing their previous focus on 3D printable miniatures, and finally bringing the game into retail stores, ready to compete with Games Workshop and Warhammer 40k on the shelf. You can't have missed this game. It's really big, and for good reason. It's extremely cool. It features an awesome setting of World War I crossed with Abrahamic mythology. It has a great art style and a ton of beautiful miniatures, and the game is really popping off. But this month, a massive YouTuber made some extremely serious allegations about the game and has highlighted a ton of controversy about the company that runs it, Factory Fortress. And now the community is turning on Trench Crusade. It is being called a corporate disaster, worse than Games Workshop, and people are in fact claiming that the game is dead. And it hasn't ended there. Other influencers and YouTubers have now piled onto the war game, and people are allegedly being banned from the official Discord for talking about it, and there's been a huge amount of controversy and drama. And this news frankly really worries me, because I myself am a Kickstarter backer for Trench Crusade. I believe in this project. I'm on record as being a fan of the game. So hearing that there's a huge controversy and scandal in Trench Crusade right now is really disappointing to hear, especially controversy that is so serious. In fact, the most serious in recent memory of any wargame company, Games Workshop included. But then, things didn't quite end there. This story didn't finish with these allegations. It's gone further and in fact has gotten a lot worse. So I think it's safe to say that today's video is not sponsored by Trench Crusade. No, today's video is sponsored by Mint Mobile, the premium wireless network without a premium price tag. All of Mint Mobile's plans include unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G network. This network is so big in fact that it almost matches my mistake in investing all my savings into the vintage Russian tabletop wargame Ring of Rule. Turns out that it wasn't quite as collectible as they made it sound, but at least with Mint Mobile, I can save money by bulk buying wireless space. With the more months you buy up front, the more you save. Plus, if you ever need to organize a game of Warhammer with friends spread across the globe, you can, because Mint Mobile features free calling to Mexico, Canada, and the UK. That's basically the entire world. Plus, wireless hotspot is included with 20 gigabytes on unlimited plans. So you'll be able to look up your army rules online at the game, and let other freeloaders do so too. But to me, the best part is that Mint Mobile lets you choose the data amount that's right for you, so you do not overpay. This is fantastic, and you can select from 5 gigabyte, 15 gigabyte, 20 gigabyte, or unlimited data each month, and it's all up to you. Not to mention that switching to Mint Mobile is easy. You can sign up and activate in minutes from the comfort of your own home, and you get to keep your phone number and existing contacts when you switch. All three of them in my case. Mother, preacher, game store. What else do you need? Plus, all of Mint Mobile's plans comes with a 7-day unconditional money-back guarantee. What's not to love? And for a limited time, you can get 50% off an unlimited premium wireless plan from Mint. So lock in Mint's lowest price of the year and pay just $15 per month for a 3, 6, or 12-month plan. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below, or use the QR code on your screen that's showing up right now, and thanks to Mint Mobile for sponsoring today's video. Okay, so what's going down, and how has it gotten worse, and are there any truth to the claims and allegations being made against Factory Fortress, the company behind Trench Crusade? Crusade? Well, this all started when the huge content creator Janovich created a video on YouTube called Trench Crusade is a Disaster, Here's Why. Janovich is a huge content creator with over 200,000 subscribers and plenty of videos that have hit over 1 million views. He's primarily known for fan animations based on wargaming properties, most notably Warhammer, and in his Trench Crusade video, he makes a number of allegations against Trench Crusade, covering criticism of the company Factory Fortress, and covers a huge scandal that is apparently happening in the community. In response to this video though, many in the Trench Crusade community have come to the defense of the game and the company that runs it. So is this correct? Or is the game truly speedrunning corporate disaster? Are Factory Fortress the new OCP? Well, today we're gonna have to go hard on these allegations and talk about what happened next, because some of them are extremely serious, like class action serious, especially the allegation that many of the Trench Crusade miniatures that were sold as part of the initial 2024 Kickstarter and designed to be 3D printed by printers at home were created poorly and contain, as Janovich alleges, resin traps. Now, resin traps sound scary, and that's because they are. These are basically inaccessible, hollow internal pockets that can happen in 3D printable miniatures when they're sculpted, let's be honest, pretty poorly. This means that when the model is printed at home on a 3D printer, it contains a little pocket where uncured resin can get trapped in a model. This can cause a lot of issues, from cracking in the model to the model being ruined due to trapped gas pressure, or worst of all, the resin leaking or exploding out of the model while you're gaming with it, or if it's just sitting on a shelf, or worst of all, you're in a business meeting and you're showing your boss your cool new general model and he is holding it right up to his face, and then it explodes and he gets permanently blinded and you're fired forever and brought to court. Suffice to say, you don't want resin on you or in you. It's super toxic. Don't eat the resin. It's basically the stuff that General Thrax would work with. It can ruin your gaming area, create health hazards, and bear in mind, these are playable game pieces. There might be kids around these things. Uncured resin is bad, and you might not even know about these resin traps in your models. The miniatures themselves can seem innocuous until one day, bam, like a cactus filled with spiders brought back from holidays. And in his video, Janovich highlights a bunch of these resin traps in some of the Trench Crusade models and shows them in his video, as well as images showing him pointing out these traps to Factory Fortress representatives. But he's not the first person to do this. In fact, last year there had already been a ton of complaints from 3D printers about resin traps present in the Trench Crusade model line. This was a really big deal at the time, and when these complaints were originally raised, Factory Fortress did respond and had produced a list of models that had the issue. They apologized publicly and rushed a fix for these over a Christmas break, and as far as I'm aware, this issue was resolved at the time. However, in his video, Janovich highlighted new resin traps in existing models that apparently haven't been caught or fixed before. So are these now a new problem? Well, I have been told by some 3D printers that most of these newly highlighted resin traps are small and inconsequential, unlikely to do any actual damage. However, honestly, I'm just not able to judge that. There might still be issues here, though I have to admit, I haven't seen many complaints from printers since the big wave of them last year when Factory Fortress got everything fixed. And look, it's important here that I say, before going any further, that I have not ever had anything sent to me for review by Factory Fortress, and I didn't get to check out their miniatures early or anything, like whatever, you know, I don't even care. I guess I'm just not on their influencer list or anything. It's like, it's not even important. It's not important. It's okay. It's cool. But I was a Kickstarter of Trench Crusade with my own personal money. I am a Kickstarter backer, and so I do have a bunch of their miniatures. Here they are. These weren't printed by me, but by the print-on-demand company Only Games. More on them later. I've had these miniatures for a while, since maybe summer of last year. Sorry, I haven't got them painted yet, and they haven't exploded on me yet. But now I'm a little worried because of all these fresh allegations, and I'm sure there's a lot of other backers who are too. And so, as a result, this highlights the fact that regardless of whether or not these resin traps are prolific, whether or not they have been fixed or are a problem, Factory Fortress need to look into these fresh allegations and review them, and then issue a statement to the community assuring us that things are fine. You know, if they're fine. Because this is a serious allegation and it requires a serious response. And honestly, honestly, if things are fine, then this is like a really easy win for Factory Fortress. And if they're not, well, fix it and let us know so people can reprint their miniatures or get refunds and replacements. In the meantime, however, if you are at home or in the bathroom of your workplace and you are going to print them, I recommend UV tools to check out your files first, just to double check that should catch any resin traps. But honestly, I haven't heard any recent complaints, though I'm sure there might be some out there. But that's not the only problem. Oh no, we're just getting started here. The other big criticism was the terrain that is being sold by Trench Crusade on My Mini Factory. Specifically this trench terrain, which has been apparently designed really badly, and that Factory Fortress are encouraging users to print these models with supports, even if you're printing them with an FDM printer. And Factory Fortress have apparently been giving out bad advice about how to work with these prints.
Bad advice! You motherfuckers gave me bad advice!
So firstly, this is terrain. So usually, yeah, most people are going to print this terrain on FDM printers, so it makes sense that Factory Fortress would give advice about printing terrain on FDM printers. Though, if you're me and you're crazy and want to print out even your miniatures with an FDM printer, you can. And I recommend to do so picking up a Bamboo Lab A1 Mini, specifically with a 0.2mm nozzle. That's what I've used, and it actually turns out some pretty good prints. There's an affiliate link for that below, check it out, and also subscribe to the channel while you're down there, you know you want to. But okay, so the guide issued by Factory Fortress recommends printing out this terrain with supports and then cutting away the supports, which on an FDM printer will end up with a result that looks like this. Yeah, pretty horrible on the underside. Now, honestly, this is weird. I would suggest not printing these with any supports, but you know, all this damage is on the bottom of the print, so who cares really? But the reason that they've done this is because the terrain, as it is designed, has a huge overhang to it, and it's designed to be glued onto the side of something like some board stock. So this is a corner piece, and honestly that's the issue here. It just has a little overhang. It's not the use of supports with their prints, it's more that the terrain isn't really designed for FDM printing in the first place. As a result of that, personally, I'm not a fan of this terrain. When I print terrain, I like to use FDM, and for that there's a ton of other third-party terrain out there that's way more suitable for FDM printing, like this. I'd recommend printing that up instead. It's just a solid block, will print up perfectly, and does not require any like cutting board or foam or anything to glue onto the side of it. Frankly, I got a 3D printer to make my hobby an easier and less work for me. I like playing the games and touching my toys, not working on them. But honestly, this feels like a bit of a minor nitpick, really. Funnily though, taking these two issues together suggests to me that I think the Trench Crusade team might kind of suck at making STL 3D printable files. They strike me more like artists than engineers, creating really cool looking objects, but not maybe designing them with full thought giving to how they'll be printed out in the end, which would be acceptable for a free STL file produced by an amateur or someone learning how to create STL files. But many of the Trench Crusade files are pretty expensive to buy on their My Mini Factory store, all things considered. And they did make millions of dollars on their Kickstarter, so there is a bit of an expectation of high quality from consumers. And frankly, that's a pretty fair expectation. And look, most of the files on here, to me, look incredible. A lot of these miniatures look fantastic, and they seem to print fine. Lots of comments are super happy with the quality of the prints. So, I don't know, your mileage may vary here. But that brings me to one of the other main criticisms of Trench Crusade, namely its move over from 3D printable miniatures to hard plastic miniatures. See, one of the main parts of the Trench Crusade sales pitch on Kickstarter originally is that it would support the 3D printing community going forward, and that the Trench Crusade guys, the Factory Fortress company, they believed in 3D printing as the future of the wargame hobby. However, late last year, they declared the Trench Crusade is moving to hard plastic physical miniatures, just like Warhammer 40k from Games Workshop, instead of producing more 3D STL files. And then they did that. They released their first hard plastic miniature box recently in partnership with Archon Studios, and this has upset a whole lot of people. This has been really controversial. Now, some people are defending the company, saying that the STL files that were originally created for the Kickstarter campaign will continue to be available and sold. Much like the provisional IRA,
They haven't gone away, you know.
they will still be maintained as per the Kickstarter promises. Likewise, there's going to continue to be some new models made available as 3D STL files in the future. On the website of Trench Crusade, it does say that there'll be accessories, special models, and terrain, that the current range is going nowhere, but there will be no new major releases in STL or resin format going forward. So what's the big deal here? Why is this such an issue? Well, it's because lots of people backed Trench Crusade because they are big into 3D printing, and there was definitely a strong implication by Factory Fortress in the Kickstarter that they continue to produce STL models after the Kickstarter. They didn't say it explicitly, but they hinted it really heavily. And some people, as a result, feel like the rug has been pulled from under their feet. They feel a bit betrayed. But I think foundationally, it's important to note that the move away from STL files to hard plastic is a strict upgrade for most wargamers and consumers. Don't get me wrong, I love 3D printing. It is doing a lot for the hobby, but plastic miniatures are just more accessible for most people because most people don't own a 3D printer. Plastic should therefore, in theory, mean that the game becomes more accessible to more people, to more gamers, to more players. And that's better for everybody. It should also mean, again in theory, that the models can become more customizable and more affordable than the high prices demanded by print-on-demand stores online. And perhaps even more importantly, plastic miniatures give local game stores something to sell. And for a lot of people, especially Americans, local game stores are vital for what games are available to play in your local area. I mean, good luck trying to convince your local game store owner to host a Trench Crusade campaign if the only way you can actually buy the models is through the internet equivalent of the back alley watch guy from Hercules, aka a 3D printer on Etsy. There's nothing in it for the store owner. They have no incentive to host this tournament, and many of them just won't. But if that store can sell the models that everyone's going to play with, it's a way easier ask. This move to plastic gives Trench Crusade a proper retail presence in local game stores, because game stores can stock the product, making it easier for players to find games, convince local stores to host tournaments, do slow grow campaigns, foster a community, all because the store can actually sell models there. This change is immeasurable in how important it is. Frankly, this is a huge level up, and it's something to celebrate. And it's not as if the old models are going away. If you back the Trench Crusade Kickstarter, you will be getting the miniatures that you backed, that you paid for. They're not going to be available to buy in plastic, so it's not as if you were a backer in Kickstarter, you would have been better off just waiting and then buying it later on as a physical product. You're still going to get your files to print, and you're going to get them before everybody else, if they're even ever available to buy in hard plastic form. Besides, the game is still a miniature agnostic game. This means that you can use any miniatures you want when you play, and that means that third-party independent sculptors can still produce digital sculpts for Trench Crusade and sell them to consumers, to gamers directly. So if you are someone with a 3D printer, there's a ton of independent sculptors out there, lots of models to be bought, and you still have access to a huge supply of potential models that people relying on the official models won't have access to. They're only for you. You can print those. And that's really awesome. It means the Trench Crusade can still move on to the future, supporting 3D printing in that way. You know, because Trench Crusade isn't like Games Workshop, and they aren't taking down third-party sculptors or anything. Except, as Janovich claims, Factory Fortress are in fact doing that. According to Janovich, Factory Fortress are using Brand Shield, an AI-powered copyright infringement hunter that is also used by such esteemed colleagues like Games Workshop, and they're using it to take down third-party sculpts. And this is currently taking down a bunch of different creators of Trench Crusade miniatures, because Brand Shield is flagging them up as infringing on Trench Crusade copyright. They're doing so via hunting for keywords, or they're finding miniatures that are are apparently just too close to the official art. And yeah, that's pretty bad. Now, Trench Crusade does have a community license that should make it clear what third-party sculptors can create and sell, and it should give good guidance to the community to make sure that no one is ever taken down by this program without being surprised. There's just a big problem with that. The community license has not been released, which is really lame, to put it very nicely. Because the book is out now, the game is officially out, and there really should be an open license at this point. This is not hard to do. Just contact a lawyer. You made a lot of money on Kickstarter. This should have been ready by the time the book released. And honestly, if the game is truly model agnostic, then any license generated for the game should be really open and permissive, right? I mean, the game is model agnostic, right? Well, no, right now, it's not. Not so long as Factory Fortress continue to work with Brand Shield. They need to get rid of this. It's indefensible. The game isn't model agnostic while there's an AI prowling the internet taking down miniatures, especially based on keyword search. I mean, this thing is clumsy, and it's dumb, and it's over-eager. It's like the worst boyfriend in the world. Honestly, I hate it. It creates a culture of fear for third-party creators, it stifles the community, and it's doing more damage to the Trench Crusade brand than any amount of poorly made third-party copyright infringing recasts or models could ever do. This has to go. It's a bad call. And frankly, if the game is truly model agnostic, I should be able to sell models with Heretic Legion in their description. But I'm not sure if I can right now because Brand Shield has been contracted and there's no guidelines being given to me as a third party. So right now, third party sellers are operating in the dark and they are currently unsure how close they can model their files to the official artwork and what keywords they can use in their descriptions for searchability. But it must be said, even in these conditions, there is still a community of third party sellers that has flourished. There are fan websites like stltrench.com which compile third party sculpts for Trench Crusade. You can check it out yourself. In fact, I'm sort of using this site as a weather vane. If it stays up, then everything's good. But if it goes down, I'd get really, truly concerned for the future of the game. But right now, I just don't think they're at Games Workshop levels. I mean, Games Workshop would never tolerate a website like this, so this can still be reversed. It is a problem, but they just need to get a lawyer and release the community license. It should have been done alongside the rulebook, and there's no excuse for it not to be ready already. But I just gotta reiterate, this is not a problem related to hard plastic miniatures. The hard plastic miniatures overall are a great move. However, there is one big, massive, huge problem with them, and that's the price. The price of these new miniatures are really high. Although, not to get the boot in, but I do kind of blame Games Workshop with this one, because I did warn about this years ago that Games Workshop are pushing the bottom of the wargame market up in terms of price. That's bad for consumers, and it's going to embolden every other company to charge higher prices. But if Factory Fortress are really committed to making their game accessible, as they have claimed they are many times, then I do think that the prices should be lowered or future models sold for cheaper. This isn't a crazy thing to say, I know it might sound it, but other companies in the wargame space like Parabellum Studios have dropped the price of their models before in the past in response to fan pressure. There is precedent for this in the market. Though, I gotta say, as a mitigating circumstance for Trench Crusade here, the hard plastic Trench Crusade models are being outsourced to another company, Archon, for production. So some of the pricing here is probably the result of Archon, who do often set high retail price points for their own in-house miniatures. Unlike Games Workshop, Factory Fortress don't control their own means of production. They don't control their manufacturing, so they only have limited space to work with when it comes to pricing. But still though, at least buying the hard plastic miniatures is still cheaper than buying the models print on demand by Only Games. Speaking of which, if you backed the game on Kickstarter at the physical miniatures tier and got your 3D printed models from the Kickstarter from Only Games, then apparently you got models that suck absolute Sorry, I did not want to invoke the Pope with this one, but I just had to. Yes, you might have gotten miniatures where the quality of them is at the tier of Condiment King. That's in power level terms, not in drip, where the Condiment King admittedly brings the sauce. No, I'm talking bad models, half-washed, half-cured prints, misshapen heads, warped miniatures, and there have been lots of complaint about these in the Trench Crusade community, and Janovich highlights this in his video. But there's a reason for this that has not been mentioned. You see, Trench Crusade did really well in Kickstarter. It made a lot of money. It did gangbusters. It got so many backers, it was super successful. It was so successful, in fact, that it has been a disaster for Trench Crusade. Yes, Trench Crusade almost died because they got too much money. Because one of the worst things that can happen to a Kickstarter, one that has killed many companies and campaigns before, is too much money, too many backers. I call this the Kickstopper. Huh? Whatever. Okay, so basically what happened is demand is super high, okay? When the Kickstarter campaign was originally conceived, Factory Fortress contracted a company called Only Games to print all their physical miniatures for their physical miniature Kickstarter backers. Like me, that's the tier that I backed the game at. But the Kickstarter got so many backers that actually Only Games could not fulfill all these orders. They were overwhelmed. And because they couldn't print enough to get the models out on time, they had to contract other printers to get the models out too. They outsourced the printing of some of the models. And as we all know with outsourcing, it always works out. I mean, they said they could do it for cheaper. And it's these outsourced models that have had a huge variance in quality. So in one case, you get models that look like this, and then in others, you get models that look like mine. Mine were presumably printed by Only Games themselves, and the quality is fantastic. Actually, I gotta be honest, it's some of the best of any 3D print jobs I've ever seen. I'm not saying this to brag or anything, I just think that these look fantastic, but I've seen really horrible prints in the community, so the variance here has been crazy. And it sucks, but there is a solution to this issue, and Factory Fortress are doing it. Any backers that have gotten subpar prints have had their models replaced, or will have their models replaced. There's countless threads over the last year of people complaining about the quality of the models that they received, and then they got replacements. Sorted. This sucks, okay? This is a massive problem, but if the models get replaced by Factory Fortress, then Factory Fortress are making it right. They're making people whole. So this issue is, well, I mean, it's resolved as far as I can see. This isn't really an issue anymore. Factory Fortress are doing exactly what they should do. Unlike, apparently, with the books, because we have damaged books, damaged rule books arriving. According to Janovich, many of the books that have come to backers have arrived damaged. And when customers have brought this up to Factory Fortress are refusing to refund or replace the books. Instead, they are directing customers to speak to their book printers directly to get refunds or replacements. And in my opinion, if that is happening, it is totally wrong. Books with damage should be replaced as well. And it's Factory Fortress who need to resolve this. Factory Fortress are based in the USA, but many of the backers are based in the UK, like me. And so if they want to do business in the UK, they are beholden to UK law. And there is a remedy in UK law for any backers who want a replaced book. The Consumer Rights Act. Under this act, you don't talk to any factory or a manufacturer or group of burly men who come to your door with cricket bats. No, your business is with the retailer, in this case, Factory Fortress themselves. When you buy something from a company, you do a little tiny contract with them. And so it's up to that company to make you whole. And under the Consumer Rights Act 2015, your goods must be of satisfactory quality, as described, fit for purpose, and last a reasonable length of time. Some of the pictures shown of the quality of the books are not satisfactory quality, in my opinion. However, this is arguable, and I suspect that's the argument that Factory Fortress have been hiding behind. What isn't arguable, however, is the reputational loss that Factory Fortress are taking by refusing to replace these books. So instead of fobbing people off, they need to sort this out, and they need to issue refunds and replacements like they have done with the poor quality miniatures. I don't understand why they'll replace the miniatures but not the books. They need to just sort it out. Now, that said, this is a small fraction of the books. Here is mine, and it is perfect quality. It literally just arrived, and frankly, it looks great, so your mileage may vary here. It seems like only a small minimum of books have been damaged in shipping, so that sucks, but it does happen, so it should be refunded or replaced. And there's another minor issue with the books where there has already been errata to the books. That's just having a war game. Every game is going to get updates. I'd rather them update errata, fix the things in here, than not, you know? I'd rather them patch this than never ever look at it ever again. Every single war game in existence has issues inside it on release. At the end of the day, the rules for Crusade are completely free online. You can get access to them now. The book is just a nice extra, something to put on your shelf if you really need it or you want to refer to it at the table. And that brings us to the next problem, which is Kickstarter. Yes, Crusade was Kickstarter, and that can mean only one thing: delays. There have been delays in Crusade. Models delayed, books delayed, my sex life delayed. Many backers don't have their products yet, and the campaign ended in like October of 2024. There's still comments of people waiting for their Kickstarter rewards. There's issues with FedEx and postage and print partners, and deadlines haven't been met, and yeah, that's Kickstarter. It sucks. I complain about this a lot. I think it is scandalous, but it's very much the norm. Kickstarter puts all the risk and onus onto the consumer, and every single Kickstarter I've ever seen or been a part of has been delayed. Seriously. In fact, Crusade has felt pretty fast, all things considered. It launched in October 2024, and just over a year later, I have everything I ordered. That's actually pretty impressive, sad to say. The main fulfillment is actually almost done. In the history of wargame Kickstarters, Crusade has been really smooth and speedy, even though there were some delays. I actually think it's been a great success, especially considering the amount of people that ended up backing the campaign. So, okay, those are the allegations. Now we're a week out from the Crusade scandal, the recriminations, the controversy, the claims, and what has happened. Well, this is where the situation gets worse, because the answer is pretty horrible. The answer is nothing. Nothing has happened. Factory Fortress has not responded in any official capacity to any of the claims made by YouTubers and influencers, and I actually delayed releasing this video by a week to see if we'd hear anything, and nope, nothing yet, nothing official, and this sucks. Factory Fortress need to respond to these allegations because in some cases, they are really serious. We're talking about unsafe models and delays and refusing to offer refunds and shutting down fan creations and independent companies. Right now, this whole scandal situation is doing a ton of reputational damage to the game. At time of recording, almost 400,000 people have watched Janovich's videos. There's been a ton of influencers following up on it with their own videos. I've seen innumerable refund requests on the Kickstarter by people citing these videos. This is a huge scandal. Lots of people are seeing this. It is for many people the first time they're seeing anything about Crusade. And honestly, it's coming to define Crusade in the minds of many wargamers, which is a huge pity because Crusade is an awesome game. It has a great community, it plays really well, the art is fantastic, the setting is amazing, and I do think that Factory Fortress mean well. I don't think they have gone corporate or want to be evil. The folk running Crusade are wargamers. They have been involved in the hobby since forever, but there are issues to fix. There's stuff to work on, from pricing to making backers whole to simply acknowledging some of the issues. But this controversy is obfuscating everything good about the game because Crusade has been wildly successful for a reason. People love it, and there is a way out of the storm, and it's to make people right. It's to make your backers whole. Ultimately, Crusade has an awesome setting, it has a fun rule set, and it has a fantastic focus on creativity for hobbyists, for gamers, and it needs to lean into that to succeed further. I really don't want this game to be completely overshadowed by a scandal. But yes, this is a scandal, but there's a way to fix it, and Factory Fortress can do it. They just need to make a statement, respond to the controversy in some way, or else it's going to keep growing until things get really, really bad. But still, this hasn't made me burn my Crusade collection. I'm still playing the game, I still believe in it. But what do you think? Let me know below. And if you value independent, ruthless, and balanced reporting on wargame and RPG topics, especially a channel that fights for and informs consumers of their rights, please do support this channel by checking out my Patreon. There you get access to dozens tons of in-depth reviews of different war games, including Crusade, it's linked below. And you can pick up my own game, Little Big War, where you can relive the RTS golden age on the smallest of tables, on your coffee table. You get to build a base, train an army, construct super weapons and base defenses, and destroy your enemy in any way that seems most appealing to you. Personally, I'm a big fan of the nuclear super weapon. There's 2 distinct factions and a whole bunch of maps and a big hobby community on my Discord. You can get it on Wargame Vault or my Patreon linked below, and thanks to my patrons, especially CryptoKev, and I'll catch you all next time. Bye bye.